It's Flo here again. And I wanted to talk about a quote that I was reading, or maybe it was from a show. But anyway, I wrote it down, and it says that there is no meaning or reason. Life is governed by coincidence and trivial, insignificant desires until we return to the void. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that there's this sense of existential nihilism, and nihilism is sort of the idea that everything doesn't have any weight or reason. There's chaos. It's just everything. Life is random. And I really wanted to touch on this point because I, for a long time, so this is something I actually believe in, where it doesn't really matter what we do, and not in sort of a negative way, and it's sort of more of like a liberating way. Um, a liberating way in terms of, sorry, I need to take this off. I saw something online that if you put this on your head turns, but it hasn't been happening to me. So I wanted to try it when I started this video. And so because nothing matters, you can really do whatever you want. If you really think about it in terms of the world and how long planet Earth has existed, it existed for billions of years, and humans have only been around for a couple thousand, 10,000, 20,000. I'm not sure what the number is. I'm not an expert on anthropology. But the idea is like when we're gone, the world will continue to spin. And what is meaningful to us will mean nothing to nobody at some point, because as a species, I don't think we're going to be existing a million or 2 million years into the future. And in the grand scheme of the cosmos and how the galaxy is, it's really insignificant, the amount of time that humans have been alive. And so, like, there's this liberating feeling because nothing matters. You can do whatever you want in life. And, people say life is so short, but then there's also the contrast of life is the longest thing you'll ever do. And I used to think really negative about this idea. It's like, why do anything if nothing matters? And the fact of the matter is, in terms of myself, in terms of you, in terms of whoever is listening, is that the things that we do matter to us, and that has meaning in our own personal lives. So, we're all the main actor in our own lives. And I think that because it means something to us, it's worth living life the way we should want to live. Um, like, for example, in my life, for a long time, I felt that I always had to do things my parents said to do, or my family, become a doctor, a lawyer, get a good job, have some kids, get a house, that sort of stuff. And it's sort of drilled in you as a kid. And as I grew up, I realized that's not something that I felt um, was necessarily that I wanted. And I was just going through this path of going to university and finding a wife, just because people were telling me so. And I don't think those things are necessarily bad things. I think that because I just kept listening to other people, I never really thought about what do I want to do for myself. Say if I had a kid, I'm not going to tell my kid that you should go this direction, this direction, and this direction. I think that I would kind of nudge them towards, well, what do you think is right? What do you believe in? What do you find interest in? And having them try a bunch of different things and having them sort of lead that their life in that direction, sort of nudging them. So if he or she was really good at basketball or soccer or football, and they had an interest into a certain one, like I would put them in all sports basically, and then think, okay, he or she definitely likes this sport more, so we're going to push him towards that sport. And that sort of applies to everything else in terms of what do they like learning, what sort of values do they have, but I would give them all the options. So I don't want to touch too much about religion because I know people are really controversial about that stuff, but I think that, in my opinion, it's important to study and learn all religions so I'm not ignorant, and I'm informed. So maybe learn a little about Hinduism and Buddhism and Muslim and Catholicism and Judaism, and sort of see and get my own opinions of what those religions actually teach, and kind of get the best points in my head that I think apply best to my life. So I think that, going back to the quote, there's no meaning or reason, we can really define our own reasoning. We can create our own meanings, and there's the idea that because nothing's has meaning or reason, and we all kind of end up, like little dusts of sand at the end of the day. And I don't fully agree that our desires are insignificant. I think it does have purpose in our own individual lives, and I think that's what I want to focus on more than anything. um, so I would say I'm a little bit of a nihilist, despite talking about different religions and what sort of values they offer. Mainly in the sense because I think that life is very random, and believe it or not, people are not the center of the universe, and I'm not the center of the universe. And because I have an understanding of that, I feel like, well, I can do whatever I want within reason, meaning that I'm not going to harm anybody. I feel like my morals and values should align with like what the rest of society, or majority of society, is feeling in terms of that stuff. Because, for example, this phone that I have right now, like, it wasn't created by me. It was created by a bunch of really smart people and organized companies to create this product. And the food that I eat, they come from different countries, and everything's so interconnected now. So I feel like, within reason, morally, I have to make sure that I follow the same sort of principles and ethics that majority of people that are functioning in life follow as well. Religion. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about religion too much, but now I feel like religion is a good sort of thing, analogy to talk about. So, Jesus, for example, has the 10 golden commandments. Don't envy your neighbor, don't try to steal, that sort of stuff. And I think those are good starting points in terms of how we as people should, um, function in order to make sure that we're all living a relatively safe proximity with each other. So I think by studying all these religions and getting perspectives in different parts of my life, this sort of idea of existential nihilism um, resonates with me. Because although objectively a lot of things don't have meaning or reason, and eventually we all go into the void of whatever the universe is, I think that's a little bit freeing as well, because we can really define our own realities. So that's the end of this. If anyone has any thoughts, I'd like to hear it as well. I know I went on a little bit of a rant, but anyway.